his hand is mighty upon me, and no weapon fashioned against me, they shall never prosper. I am blessed of the Lord, his hand is mighty upon me, and no weapon fashioned against me, they shall never prosper. Praying child, godly children we are, never defeated, always winning, we're living in fear of God. Praying child, godly children we are, never defeated, always winning, we're living in fear of God. Like the holy plan, round about your table, children are the heritage of God. I am seeking first the kingdom of God, cause I am a praying child. I gotta pray just to I am a praying child. I am a praying child. I am a praying child. Yes, I have to pray. I am a praying child. Yes, I have to pray. I am a praying child. Jesus God, I am a praying child. I am blessed of the Lord, his hand is mighty upon me, and no weapon fashioned against me, they shall never prosper. I am blessed of the Lord, his hand is mighty upon me, and no weapon fashioned against me, they shall never prosper. Praying child, godly children we are, never defeated, always winning, we're living in fear of God. Praying child, godly children we are, never defeated, always winning, we're living in fear of God. Like the holy plan, round about your table, children are the heritage of God. I am seeking first the kingdom of God, cause I am a praying child. I gotta pray just to I am a praying child. I am a praying child. I am a praying child. Yes, I have to pray. I am a praying child. Yes, I have to pray. I am a praying child. Jesus God, I am a praying child. I am blessed of the Lord, his hand is mighty upon me, and no weapon fashioned against me, they shall never prosper. I am blessed of the Lord, his hand is mighty upon me, and no weapon fashioned against me, they shall never prosper. Praying child, godly children we are, never defeated, always winning, we're living in fear of God. Praying child, godly children we are, never defeated, always winning, we're living in fear of God.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. God bless you. Welcome to daily prayer for our children. Sorry that we are coming very late. Some things is out of your jurisdiction, and you just have to navigate as best as you can. But I give God all the praise. I hope you've all had a wonderful, wonderful weekend. It is another week, and I hope your week have started very well. It's good to have you on board, especially if you are meeting us for the very first time. We have been on a journey with Sister Folakemi for quite a while now as an educator, not just an educator, but I believe she's also a coach and a mentor for teenagers. And I also believe that in her educational career, she, I think, specializes with people or children with special needs or needs more assistant than some of us. So we have been getting a wealth of knowledge and resources, which I hope and I am praying seriously that we are putting to good use. Some of us, we're already grandparents. I know that our children are already grown. I know that. But guess what? There's still the next generation. There's no information that is ever useless. It might not be for you, but you can pass these resources on to somebody else, children around you, parents around you. It's useful information. And I hope we're even going back to look at even beyond the things, because for me personally, she has opened doors to some knowledge that I personally didn't have, and that has got me digging. But that's just me. When anybody says anything I don't know, I've never heard, the next thing I want to do is I want to go and find out. I guess I'm the Berenian Christians, regardless of what it is anybody is giving me. I just go and find out, and thank God for we call it today the World Wide Web. So we get this opportunity to go out and to look out for things for ourselves. And there's so many books. Some of them, I even say there's loads of books on audio today. So if you're not a reader, you're a listener, there's always something out there for you. And there's quite a lot as well that is free, and there's a lot of apps as well with libraries. That was one thing I was quite shocked about. There's tons of e-libraries that even have audiobooks of every topic that you can think of under the sky. So you can listen while you're washing the car. With all this brilliant weather that we've been having, you can put it either in your AirPods or through your AirPods, your speakers, even actually have the device out while you're getting some sun. Well needed vitamin D, by the way, because many of us need vitamin D. But apart from that, I hope, like I said, we are passing this knowledge to our children. We're utilizing it in the lives of our children. And like I always say, you can always find Sister Folakemi on a playlist on Praying Child Community. There is a playlist dedicated to everything that she has taught us and will teach us by the grace of God. So if there's anything you've missed, we've covered all sorts of things. Dyslexia, we've covered it. Autism, we've covered it. Early years, we've covered it. There's very little right now that we haven't covered. So much so that the next time she's coming, by the grace of God, I want her to come and speak to us as a servant of God, because she wears many garments. Not only is she a wife, a mother, an educator, she's also a co-laborer in the vineyard of God. They pastor a ministry in up north. You have to be very careful the amount of information you give about people nowadays. So I've come prepared again, and I hope you would get involved in the conversation. Please ask questions. I don't know what people have done to us over the years, but we are so scared to ask questions. I don't know why. We can't receive all this amount of information, and especially if we're looking into it ourselves as well, and not have questions. So please get involved. I have got my questions, trust. I have to. Otherwise, I'll be wasting Sister Folakemi's time in coming if I don't have questions. But hopefully you've also got some questions. I see she's ready to come on board now. So I'm going to bring her. So as always, please, if you can, and you should be able to, give our sister that very well earned and deserved PCC family welcome. So everybody, this is our beloved sister Folakemi Adedeji Ikunyiminu. When you imagine, I couldn't even say Ikunyiminu at the beginning. I had to go and learn. Now I'm bragging and boasting as if, I did not receive the knowledge from somewhere else. Hallelujah.
Pass the test.
I passed the test. Thank you. I worked on it. I had to work on it. Honestly, I really had to. Even though I speak Yoruba, people don't actually know that as a young lady, as a child, I actually did not speak Yoruba. In fact, my Yoruba picked up when this man found me or I found him. I don't know which one. And now I say Yoruba. Even my family are like, whoa. And then I give proverbs because he's so full of proverbs and deep. Yeah. So my family are like, whoa. I mean, your Yoruba is like shoot up. So they don't even know that as a child, Yoruba was not actually my first language. So anyway, so
Thank you, Auntie JJ. Thank you, Auntie Fumi.
yes. So
Good evening, Life and Music. Good evening,
yes,
everybody.
yes. Sis, how have you been?
We thank God. It's been good. God.
Did you hear they said that's a spiritual answer?
I didn't hear, so I stick to my answer.
We thank God. We thank God. We thank God. We thank God. It's good to have you. It's good to
Thank
have you
you,
on
ma.
board. And I thank you for always availing yourself, because I know you're very busy and I really do not take your time for granted. Not only is it the wealth of knowledge and resources that you've been impacting onto us, but also the zeal and the passion and the drive and the desire, and you just don't let me just give them something. No, I believe we're actually getting substance from you, and so thank you
You're
very, very,
welcome.
very much. We are very grateful. So I have come with my questions again today, and I really want to the bulk of my question is centered around parents' involvement, which is what you were really talking about not too long ago, advocating for your children's education. So like I said, I have gone looking, researching, followed some of the things that you've given to us, and even just looking at the education generally that we're working with at the moment, because there's two major things that I believe personally, and I'm sure you're probably going to agree with me, that has impacted the education of our children in the last 3 or 5 years. One is COVID, and two is AI. Now, I don't know how vast you are in AI, because that's part of things. When I said I do go. I do go and look and research and listen and learn. Like I told you, obviously my children are no longer in that aspect. So if you think about it, I have no reason to actually go. But I work with children, I work with young people. I'm always constantly talking with parents. So, and I always like to speak from a point of knowledge, not head knowledge, but factual and statistics. And so it's not just they said, she said, but actually things that I can signpost people to go and look at this, go and read this, and that kind of thing. So that's why I know that AI is making an impact. And I've heard some teachers talking about, even lecturers talking about, as if AI is the future. I don't even know how many parents under the sound of my voice even know what AI is. So I'm going to leave all that in your hand. But those are the two probably major places that I feel that we might be able to get to today. But before that, I've got here. Um, I'm sure I've asked this question again, but I want to ask it again because of again some of the things I'm hearing. I don't know whether you know it, but not too long ago it was mentioned that they want to be teaching boys in school as part of education respect, morals, and courtesy. Now, again, that's just showing us
Okay.
again how our society has taken a deep plunge southward, not north.
Yeah.
So basically, I've got here what is the areas that you see parents failing in the education of their children? Something that is very common or sticks out where parents are failing when we talk about involvement in the education of their children.
Hmm. That's
It's huge.
that's
Wow. Okay,
huge.
just take a chunk, a bit,
Mhm.
a bite. Take a bite.
I think the fact that children are not prepared to
Mm,
learn is it's a big one. They haven't developed the independent skills, the resilient skills, the problem solving skills that a parent would teach as normal model as part of
mm,
growing up. Basic skills, honestly, by the time children start school, they should be able to tie their
okay.
laces. They should be able to, by the time they're in year one, they should be able to put their socks on, you know, put their jackets on. Some of them by reception are undressing. Most of them are quite a few actually. So those sort of basic skills helps them to be confident. And then, children being prepared to how am I going to put it? Children being prepared to accept change, to learning to be flexible, learning to respect the personal space of
Mm,
other
mm,
people.
mm, mm.
Basic
You say it's
things.
basic, sis, but if it was basic, I think we should all be doing it.
I think I feel
Babies,
they're basic, and I feel that we're just getting. I don't know what's
wrong.
gone wrong with when we were growing up. You were
Mm,
taught those
mm,
things. You were taught to
mm.
sort your things. I think what one mistake parents are making is doing too much for their
Yes,
children.
I agree.
So therefore, the children haven't picked up the
Skills.
necessary skills to be able to do things
Mm,
when they need to do them. So, basic if from growing
mm,
from home, a child knows that I finish eating, I
mm,
pick my plate up and I
mm.
put it in the sink. I
I
drop
pick it
something
up.
on the floor, or
Mm,
I pick it up, or
pick
someone
it up.
drops it, and I can be
Mm.
asked to pick it up. There's a huge there's a lot of
Oh yes.
entitlement in the children as they come
Mm.
to school. You ask them to do something, their
No.
first response is no.
Mm.
So that respect for
Input.
adults outside of their yeah or for the adults input. I remember I used to have to stop children and say, even as young as year one, they're disrespectful to the teaching assistant, because in their head, this is the teacher, that person is not as
Mm.
important as the teacher, so therefore I will
Mm.
not respect them. So you can see
Mm.
why I'm saying there are basic things, because when you want when a child that is ready to learn would have those skills, because they would know that all these adults are there to support me. They wouldn't have an air, an attitude of, oh, I'm better than this person, or this person cannot talk to me. So there's a lot of attitude. And you would agree with me that when you feel that this person can't do anything for me, they will just
Mm.
discount the person. And I just see a lot of lack of basic skills
Mm.
in children as they grow.
See,
Respect,
manners,
courtesy,
values,
manners,
use.
good
Yeah.
values. Those are foundations on which
Mm.
you
Mm.
build your learning. You can't learn from somebody
Of
you don't
course.
respect. Now, and children don't just decide they don't respect. They
Of
hear you talk
course.
about the teachers. They see your the attitude of the parents to other adults and to people around, and
Mm.
they pick it up. So I feel that, when people blame children, I'd say don't blame the
They're
child. Look at the
mimicking what's
parents.
around them.
I always say children are
Yes.
sponges. They just you don't need to tell them.
Mm.
You don't need to tell them. You just see toddlers, they pick up a phone. I always say that thing because it's so
Yes.
fascinating.
Da-da.
They would do the hand gestures, they would do the
Mm.
pacing,
Mm.
they would do you would see yourself in
Yes.
3D
Yes. It's true. It's
in
true.
those children. Now, that's the one that's innocent, that doesn't realize that,
Mm.
I don't have to
Mm.
show everybody what I've learned. When they now get to the level where, they can now decipher between, oh, okay, I can, whatever it is I know, I'll keep it to myself. Then they
Mm.
just see it. They just, I'm sure it out in the public. So like they say, the
The
apple doesn't
tree.
fall far
It's
from the
true.
tree.
It's true.
So what we
Get
put in
out.
is what we get out. So the basic
Mm.
values, that huge chunk is missing. The teaching of our children to be responsible and self-reliant, and to be a self-starter. A lot of children are just like, somebody needs to help me. And you're just
Oh.
like, what
Yeah.
what? Yeah, so it is important that we teach them those
Self-reliance.
basic skills and the
Mm.
values. Yeah, it prepares them to be able to learn, to be able to, respect people, approach people, please and
Yeah.
thank you, those
Polite.
things that we teach the children. To
Mm.
be
Mm.
polite, and to be able to say, I, I think another thing is we don't allow them to
Ah.
make mistakes, so they struggle
Mistakes.
when they make
Mm.
mistakes. For them, some of them, it's the end
Mm.
of the world. Some of them, that's the reason why they won't even attempt their work,
Because they're afraid.
because they don't want to, they're afraid
Mistakes.
to make
Mm.
mistakes.
Mm.
And some of them are just sitting there waiting for someone to come and help them, because they haven't been given the opportunity to, try. Like when my children had homework in those days, they say, "Oh, mom," or they're reading a book. What's the meaning of that word? I'll say, "I'm not a walking
Go
dictionary.
online.
If I tell you, you
Go
will
and find
forget.
out.
If you
You will
find out,
remember.
you will remember." So yeah, it's sometimes some parents do the
Wow.
homework because the child is
Mm.
struggling.
Mm.
I'd say take it back and to the teacher and say, "I'm sorry, we couldn't do, he didn't understand it. I tried to explain it to him. Can you explain it again?" And we will
Mm.
do it.
Mm. Mm.
That's helping the child to learn. So
Yeah,
that there's
there
a whole
is.
lot.
And I have to
A whole
agree with
lot.
you on just about every point that you've made, because we've always had this proverb that charity begins at home.
At home.
And again, coming back to parents, you can't give what you don't have. So, because as you were just listing all those things and mentioning them, I'm thinking, how can we go forward? But the problem that you're identifying is suggesting we need to go backwards. So, and the reason I say
Mm,
that is because backwards, we're going back into the home and try and
mm,
lay those
mm,
foundation correctly that
mm.
we need to lay before our children
Absolutely.
start leaving the home into the real world. And so it seems like there's still a lot of, in fact, to be honest with you, there's a church that has been doing a series on parenting since last month, that they've invited me to every Sunday. They should finish at the end of this month. And one of the questions that was still asked me yesterday was, how do you compel or gently influence the decision of the path or career that your children take? And I say categorically, it's not your job to influence, it's not your job to impact, it's not your job to because you're kind of asking a question, as far as I see it, as a way that, how do I still make that child do what I want the child to do? That's
What
what it
I
sounds to me.
want.
And I'm
Mm.
saying, no, you don't get to choose what that child goes on to do.
Should
Your
become. Each heart knows its
okay,
path.
your job is to provide, and I keep using the example of a farmer. A farmer does not get to choose how and when it grows. The farmer gets to choose
Mm.
the soil, how good the soil is, and remove the
Mm.
weed, put the right nutrient as much as he can, like manure and things like that. Obviously, give it in sufficient water at the right time and all that kind of thing, which is just basically providing an environment for that seed to be able to thrive to the best of his ability. But you don't actually get to choose how big that seed is going to be, in which direction it's going to grow. You don't get to choose that. But the farmer will toil the soil, will plow the soil, will do everything for the soil. And for me, that soil is the environment for our children. And according to what you're
Mm.
saying, this is starting from our home. What environment, like you said, they're going to mimic us. So what environment are we creating? What manners, what morals, what conduct are we exemplary that we're giving these
Mm.
children, that they can
Mm.
use to say, okay, this is how I address another human being. And like you said, the first thing you said is, we do a lot for our children. I don't know whether it is guilt tripping. I don't know whether we have failed, or we feel some people have failed us, and so we've got to do everything for our children. I really don't understand it. And when other parents see
Mm.
you not doing what they're doing, they think you are the evil one because you're letting your children know how to tie a shoelace.
Yeah, I, I don't know. They call it helicopter parenting. Why you? I think it's a trauma response. It's you are trying to protect the child, trying to make, some people will say we don't want our children to go through, all the troubles we went through, but we cannot closet them and shelter them from the
Mm,
reality of life. Because no matter what, sometimes when I speak to some parents, I'm like, do you realize that this you won't be around
exactly.
forever? You won't always be there to solve their problems. So if you are constantly
Mm,
jumping in
the
to
problem.
solve their problems, when they
Mm,
are 30
mm,
and 35 and they're married, you are still the one that will be sorting their problems. Some people are helping their
mm,
children pay debts. And I'm like, where do you
mm,
draw the line?
mm,
Where do you draw the line? So it's we okay, we don't want them to suffer. We will provide for them. We won't like throw them under the bus, but we will let them learn and we will let them try. And then, like Auntie J just rightly said, some of them don't want to hear no. You say no, they have a
mm,
meltdown because nobody
mm,
has told them no. They can, they know how to protest and how to. I always say to people, the child that is squeezing their face is their face. It's not my face. You just do what I have
mm,
asked you to do.
mm,
End of. Whichever way you do your face,
mm,
that's your problem. So, all of those things. And children are very smart. They know that, if they will ask you four or
mm.
five times
You're
until
out.
they wear you
Yes.
down. And yeah, if you're
Mm,
not aware, you will they will constantly come back and do the same thing. So it's finding the balance, and that's why I think it was easier in the past because our parents, they didn't parent in
Mm.
isolation. It takes a village
Yes.
to raise a child. I know the world is evil, but you cannot know
Mm.
everything. So being able to, be part of a community where
Mm.
there's support. And I always say we have made the church not a very
Wow.
safe place because we are expecting everybody to say
Mm.
it is well.
Mm.
And anyone whose child is not doing what everybody's kind of, ostracized, or everybody looks down on them,
Mm.
instead of saying, oh, this is our child,
Mm-hmm.
we need to support our brother and sister so that this child turns out well. Instead, we would kind of turn up our noses like, oh my God, did you see so and so's child? That's not the village. When we were growing up, any adult could tell us. I know some adults were horrible. I know some adults did nasty things. Well, we can still work together
Mm.
and build a community that supports our children.
Mm. 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 My aunt is saying she had this discussion yesterday with a sister. It's an ongoing conversation
Mm,
that we have to keep having.
mm.
That that thing that they say you can't do the same thing the same way and you're
And expect
expecting
a
a different
different
result.
result.
It's not
Eh,
possible. And my I always start from this point. There were things that were done for me or to me that I consciously make an effort never to do it to a child.
Absolutely.
And there were things that were done to me and for me that I said, yes, this one,
Mm-hmm,
I'm definitely going to run with it in the
mm-hmm,
life of my
mm-hmm,
children.
mm-hmm.
And the Bible says we should covet good things. So every good things that I have acquired along the way, I try to impact it into the life of us. It's not just my children, any
Any
child.
child around me.
Exactly. Any child around me that is willing to learn. I don't know whether you know that I run a Saturday Bible school.
Yes.
I'm probably the only one, and I learned it from one of my child's piano teacher many years ago. When I used to take that child to piano, I think that child as well was having some sort of attitude. There was, after every piano lesson, there was always homework, and that child was always finding ways to you get not to do the thing. But as soon as we get there, and the piano teacher will say, okay, so let's go first through your
Homework.
homework. Immediately that child starts, the piano teacher knows you didn't do it. Because if you did it, this and this and this and this and this and this and this. And I will sit there because he won't teach a child without any adult being there. And I don't blame him. It was a safety reason. So, and I'll be sitting there hearing everything, that the correction that has been given to that child. And there will be occasionally, I think he would turn around and look at me and see me going like this. I won't speak, but I'll be going, because these are things that we have pointed out, but the child feels I can go out and I will still get away with it. And I can't tell you the amount of tears that came from
Oh yeah.
those lessons.
I know those feelings.
You know those feelings,
My
okay?
two did learned the keyboard as well. So
Okay. And it was tremendous. In fact, it added to my child, added in a huge
it
way.
does. It does.
In fact, he got to a stage one day, the guy looked at, I don't know whether just my child or both of us, and he categorically said, I'm not interested in the money your parents are paying. If you're not willing to do the work, don't come back. I think as of that time, we were either paying 35 or 37 pounds an hour. And the guy looked and he said, if you are not prepared to do the work, don't come back. Recently, I had to do the same thing in Saturday Bible school. And some children thought I was joking because it's online. And I said, no, I'm not interested in the payment. I'm interested in the impact it's making in your life. And if you're not interested in learning, you're free to go. But one of the things I realize is that when I give them the work to do, I don't know what the child will go and say to the parents. And then I'll be getting things like, oh, can that child, is it possible? You know what I do, sis? I don't respond. Because that tells me you are an enabler.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the same thing applies to school. There's a difference between when I say the child doesn't understand you, you go to, and you don't, it's not like you do it every day. There's a difference between that and the teacher now saying, the homework, is it too much?
Can you imagine?
Oh, he was crying. And I'm like, it's normal for children to cry. Even adults cry when they're frustrated. But why are you enabling,
The
the
child.
child that hasn't made an effort?
Exactly. So that's why I said I don't disagree with you, because to a small degree, I experienced it on Saturday. And in fact, there are some children that will have, sis, they will be doing all sorts of things. They'll be watching things and smiling. They think I'm not seeing. They've got no clue what we're talking about in the class. And I won't say anything. I'll just be watching. And suddenly I will ask them a question. They've got no clue what we're talking about. And then I will open. I said, you were doing this at this time. You were doing that. This is what you were doing. This is what you were doing. And they will just keep quiet. But again, I can see it's a reflection of the environment where they're in. Because like I said, if nobody is asking you, what did you do in Saturday Bible school today? How are you progressing in what you're doing? Then the child feels I can just go there and do what I want. So again, talking about the involvement, because I read an essay, I actually went in my quest to find out the involvement of the gravity of parents, or the gravity or the consequence of parents' involvement in their children's education. So Warwick and another institution, Warwick University, they wrote an essay and they did a research just based on this. And I had to go and read, and you know what academic papers look like.
Well done.
I had to go and read this, and I did. And I have to tell you, it took me a long time to digest everything that is there. But the long and short of what they're saying, again, is yes, the statistics, research, everything has proven that when parents get involved in the education of their children, the outcome is enormous.
It is. It is, even for a child that has additional needs. Once there's parental involvement, it takes it up a notch.
Exactly. In fact, I think they even gave a number as to how much. In fact, I think in that essay, it says parents have got involved in the education. I think he says he adds another 2 to 3 years of learning to the life of the child, which means the less involvement parents are in the education of their children, the more likely that child is not going to go far.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think parents feel, oh, I've taken the child to the school. The school should teach them.
Exactly.
And you are the first teacher.
Exactly.
You are the first teacher, and you build you are the one that lays the foundation that school builds on.
It's true. And that's what that essay said. That essay said, in as much as, like you were suggesting, community and productivity of the school, they were now differentiating between the involvement of the parent in the school and the involvement of the parent at home in the education of the children. And they favor the latter. the involvement at home of the education of their children is more advantageous to everybody involved, most especially the child, than the involvement. So because some of us, and I've seen this a lot in the in the school life of my children, we do they having a fun fair, they having a sale, they doing this, and they're going on trips, and they need parents to go, and all those kind of things. They said that is good,
It
but
is.
more importantly, what we do in the education of our children at home before they even come, like you said, and while they're still in the education, that involvement at home, they said, is more important.
It is. It is. It's more important than when we get them extra tuition as well.
You see?
That conversation, it gives, for the children, it gives them a sense of this is important,
Mm,
and the attention, and the fact that they're getting attention from you because you're doing that together
mm,
in their brain, it registers as, they're interested in me. So even when they have tutors,
mm,
they're studying, you sit down together. When I didn't know some of those things they were doing in A levels, I will go and sit with my daughter and say, look at all this maths. How are you doing it?
mm,
And we will have a conversation, and I'll have a laughter. My math stopped at O level. So even though I did I did maths in first year university, and we'll laugh about the fact that my first maths course in university, I flunked it, but I eventually passed it. Those sort of things.
mm.
Just the interpersonal connection.
Sean,
Even
yes.
when they grow older. Oh, what are you doing? How is it getting on?
Mm,
Can I bring you a cup of water? Are you understanding it? Simple things.
yes. Yes, I agree with you. And so, please, I'm appealing to parents, like you said, let your children, you talk about making mistakes. They've got to make mistakes. Even
Yeah,
the Bible accommodate for we falling down 7 times and picking ourselves up.
absolutely.
So they've got to make mistakes. You've got to let them learn from their mistakes. They've got to, I mean, obviously our prayer says is that they're not going to get into a very
You know,
catastrophic or
yeah,
devastating kind of mistakes, which is why I believe that we're there to guide them along the way and not to totally shield them from the
definitely.
yeah, but to nurture and to guide them and support them along the way, which is again our involvement. Because sis, if we are consistently involved, we will see things over the horizon or things likely, and we can say, how about if you consider this or that, and how about going this route, with those kind of things, without actually saying no, you can't, no. And sometimes if they refuse to listen, says you just have to let them make that mistake.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Yeah. Especially as they get older and they're making, subject choices. They're doing. There are things, there's a lot of influence out there.
Mm,
Sometimes, and as they get into teenage years, they're separating. They're separating from you, and that season, their friends are more important.
mm,
They will get influenced by what the choices their friends are making. I used to ask those questions. So, why are you doing that subject? How many of your friends are in that class?
mm.
And we'll have that conversation, as in, is it exactly what you want to do, or are you doing it because everybody else is doing
It's
it?
doing it. Mm, mm,
And
mm.
but some parents don't even know when they choose. They don't know what has happened, which subjects are supposed to go together.
Yeah,
What's the child's strength? What's the child's
weakness.
flair?
Mm,
What's the child good at?
mm, mm.
And it takes being involved. It takes asking questions. And I always say, there's when somebody says, "Oh, this might be a silly question," I'll say, "There's no silly question. Anyone that is bold enough to ask a question,
Mm,
it's actually smart.
mm, mm, mm.
It's the one who doesn't know and doesn't ask that I'm thinking, what are you have a life in your hands.
It's true.
Ask questions.
Ask questions, yeah, and let them do things for themselves. Let them learn to do things for themselves. Like you said, sis, I agree with you. Who knows whether I'm going to be here tomorrow? Who knows? None of us is guaranteed the next second. So how would your children be able to cope? You know, we all desire to see our children grow up and obviously, you know, do all those things everybody do. But so did many people that died during COVID. They wanted to be here to do so many things for their children.
True.
But death came. So, you know, I watched one TED talk, one young lady, I can't remember her name. I don't think she was even up to 10. And one of the principles of what she was saying, and she demonstrated it, she said, start teaching us things as early as possible and repeat it as often as possible.
I agree. We learn by repetition.
Exactly.
Apparently, I've forgotten the numbers now. You have to hear something like 17 or 20 times before it registers in your brain. So saying that you told them something once or twice,
No,
or saying that, I'm always telling you, it's not an you
it's
have
not a
to
valid
it's not a valid
reason.
reason. You and then when people talk about, but I said, they can be teenagers, they can be adults. Me, I will say what I want to say.
Exactly.
And they say, mommy, I started again. I'll say, yes, I started
Yes.
again. That's why I'm mommy.
Mm.
I will say my own. You will remember that I said it.
Yes. I like the thing about you say about, you know, their facial expression changing. Lord, I love it where you said it, because I said the same thing. I say, screw up your face. Let your shoulder do somehow. Let your body language. I will still say
Drag
what
your
I
feet.
want to say. If you like, take it. If you like, don't take it. All I know is you cannot go back and change if.
True.
If I had listened, you can't go back and change it. That's one of the things I've always told my children. That 2-letter word, IF, you can't change it. And you've got to learn to deal with the consequence.
True.
So again, like you said, the ability to make decisions. And you said something again that afraid to make mistakes. Nobody should be afraid to make mistakes. One of the things I also taught my children is when they're contemplating something, I said, okay, tell me what's the worst scenario.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And many adults don't have that skill.
Oh, wow.
When I say that, when we talk about worry and those things, I said to myself that, I said to them that, look, so what I do is when the situation arises, I look at it and I think, okay, so what's the best thing that can happen? What's the worst thing that can happen? And what if neither of them happens? And can I change it? Can I help it? If I can, yes. If I can't, and I don't have I don't have anybody who can help me, why would I sit there while I'm worried about it? I let it be. So that's a really good thing and in the John Maxwell team, we teach that, failure is your friend.
You see?
You're learning how not to do it.
And like Auntie Cecilia said earlier, no. I said, look, no is part of life. Even God says no to us. No is part of life. And rejection, believe it or not, is part of life.
It's such a I say, you will write job applications. They will say, we are sorry at this time you were unsuccessful. Life goes on.
Life goes on, exactly.
If we stayed stuck in that you were unsuccessful,
okay,
we won't be here today.
Exactly. So, like I said, with no, again, something I tell my children, I said, look at the consequence. If the person says yes, this is the direction. If they say no, this is the direction. Prepare for both. It doesn't have to be a devastating situation. Why? Because you prepared and anticipated both. So no is part of life. And that's the worst anybody can ever say to you in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what? Because they said no. So what does that mean? Does that mean you can't be who you want to be or go where you need to go? And maybe that's not the appointed time of God.
Exactly. Exactly. Maybe there's better. Maybe there's better in
Okay,
stock.
over the horizon, exactly. So again, let them make the mistakes. Let say no as often as you need to say a no. God will say no to me if he's not the plan and his will for me. And
Mm.
if it's not his appointed time, the answer will be no. Didn't Apostle Paul say 3 times I went to the Lord and he kept saying, my
My
grace
grace is
is
sufficient
sufficient
for
for
you.
you? He said no. He said, Satan has put something in my skin that is making me. He said, but I went to the Lord concerning this thing, and God said, God did not remove it. He did not remove it. So please, like we are learning, let our children learn this thing, like you said, sis, from home as soon and as early as possible. Rejection is okay. Failure is good.
Mm.
Failure is good
And failure does not define you.
at all.
Let me explain. Some children, they make a mistake and it's, oh, and they're so hard on themselves. They say, oh, I'm so stupid. Where did they get that from?
Parents, home,
Home.
you dumb.
If yeah,
If you've done this,
they trip against. Are you blind? Are you
yes,
deaf?
yes, thank you.
Those sort of things they register in the
Yeah.
minds. Someone, nobody would walk around and kick and stop their toe. So if somebody, if they're hitting their foot somewhere, best thing to say is, oh, are you all right?
Right.
Instead of
Yes.
being so sarcastic and
See,
say, can't you see? Do you want to turn on the light? So the
mm,
child is now wary of, of making
making
mistakes,
mistakes. Yeah.
and they're now moving around like a robot. Children
Sis,
will always badge around. They would always. I said, look, if there are children in the house and the house is quiet, what kind of graveyard is that?
is that?
Children make noise. That's what they do.
Mm, mm.
We just teach them to manage, to manage
Yes.
expectations.
Everything.
We
Yes.
teach them that, running up and down the stairs is dangerous. You can hurt yourself. So if you're going to run, go and run in the garden.
Mm,
It's
mm.
just redirecting the energy, not stop it completely. Sit down.
Yes. Can you
Children don't,
imagine?
children don't sit down.
In fact, I think it's my husband that told me this. He said his mom says he's only a child that is sick that sits still.
Oh, oh,
And it's true. It's only a child that is sick that will sit still. And you and I will be worried if we had a child that all he did was just sit
no,
still.
just sit. Well, yeah, because we have so many things, troubling our minds. We just want the peace. Just want them to be quiet.
Mm.
Mm. It's not a good choice to keep shutting children
Turn
down.
down. You don't give them a
Give
voice.
them-
You don't
yeah.
let them speak. You don't let them express themselves. You know, I'm so glad again. I don't know, for some reason, we're just singing from the same page today about, I say this to parents a lot, especially on a biblical level. When you say to a child, are you blind? Are you deaf? I said, you to answer that question. Is the child blind?
Exactly.
Is the child deaf? If that child was deaf, would you even be asking that kind of question? So that kind of unnecessary sarcasm. Again, I tell parents, they forget this as children of God. The Bible says we will account for
Every word,
every
every,
word that we
every
speak.
word, every word, and it's a scary thing.
Yes, we will account. I mean, you looked at the image of God, who was created and fearfully made and wonderfully made in the image of God. And you say things like, you're blind, you're deaf, you stupid, are you dumb? Does that child look dumb to you? But again, I think there's some contributions that I want to put on the screen for us to
Yeah.
see as well. Okay. Good evening, sis, all the way from America. Sister
Oba.
Abimbola, God bless you, ma. She says, I don't say foul words in my house, but my children say the same when they made mistakes, but I always correct them.
Because they pick it up. They pick it up.
Yeah, they will. They will pick, like you said, you were talking about peer pressure. They will be
Mm,
influenced
yeah.
by the environment around them. Um, one of the things I did in Saturday Bible School, once they said they didn't do something, I will ask them, did you go on social media?
Oh yeah.
Did you go on Snapchat? Did you go on
Did you charge
Instagram?
your
Did you go
phone?
on TikTok? Did you go on YouTube? Then they'll say, okay. Then I'll say, how many hours, how many minutes were you there for? You see? And I said, would that get you to heaven? Does that build your relationship with God?
Mm.
Will it make you a better person? It might teach you certain things. Yeah. I mean, there are things that can be learned from the social media. But are we biblically literate enough to know whether this is for me as a child of God? Because it looks good and sound good doesn't mean it's in conformity with the word of God.
Big question.
So, I mean, again, there's so many things to be said there. Sis, I'm so grateful.
You're
Let's come,
awesome.
please. COVID, how's COVID affected?
Mm.
Because I'm hearing many children. In fact, I don't know whether you know this, but I do at the hospital. I volunteer as a chaplain at a NHS hospital. So today I was speaking with one of the patients. Wow, did that man have a lot to say today? He did. Uh, and one of the things he was saying that he actually shared with me, he said there was, I think, a young boy, young girl, young person anyway, about in their 20s, early 20s. He said he bought something from the store for £10.25, and he gave the person behind the till £20.25. The child was struggling as to the change to
That's
give.
market maths.
That's arithmetic. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's yeah. Yeah.
Said, and he gave me that example, and then he went on to give me another example that they can't even read. He said you ask them. He said now, like I was speaking about Audible earlier on, audio books. He said they would, even to read something, the phone, Siri might read it to you, Alexia, what do they call them,
You
Google
read
thing
your
will read
text,
it
you
to
read
you.
your
Okay.
messages.
So they are not even being forced to even read their own messages anymore. So the ability to continue to learn is being eroded every day. We already had that issue when text came in, and we couldn't, the more text you send, the more expensive it became. So we started abbreviating and shortening.
God, those abbreviations.
Okay. And literally some people like me had to learn all those things all over again, because sometimes I just didn't know what they meant or what they
Who send
didn't.
me messages and I'll be like,
I honestly, what does,
because I read really quickly and I scan.
okay,
And I'll
okay.
get to the end and I think, what did I
What
read?
was that all about?
I did I didn't grasp this. What does that mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
AI. That's
Even
COVID.
before AI, I mean,
COVID,
I
yeah.
think the government are convinced that it being locked down and access to education and no constant monitoring has obviously affected the literacy and the numeracy
Absolutely.
levels of
Absolutely.
children,
Mm.
especially from the early ages. So please help us, because I know, look, parents, I'm not bashing you, honestly, but sis, I come from the point of, in as much as you don't know my life, I don't know your life as well. And many of us are juggling a lot of balls.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is, some people look at certain people and they think, oh, sometimes I wish somebody would come and live my life sometimes, and actually no. Sis, you can testify. If you go and look at some of the messages I sent you, you see most of the time they're very early hours
Of the morning.
of the morning.
Yeah.
you know, we all have the same 24 hours. You get to choose how you use these 24 hours and what you do with it. So, and I always believe that if I can do it, anybody can do it. It's just priority and choosing what is important to you and what you want to prioritize. And whatever is important to us, sis, we're told we give attention to.
Mm.
If it's a relationship that we're interested in, sis, we will find time to give
Oh
time to
yes.
it.
Oh yes. Absolutely.
If it's a qualification that we want to get, we will find time out of no time. But with these children, sis, we only get to do it once. Only once.
And you've
They're
got
not going to be 6 year old twice. They're not going to be 7 year old twice. It's only going to be once. So, sis, please.
right. COVID. Mm. Yeah. What COVID and the lockdowns have left in the wake is a lot of mental health difficulties and different people have their different theories.
Mm,
Of course, we're not meant to isolate and be by ourselves. But my question would be, in that isolation,
what
how
did
did you
we do?
spend your time?
Yes.
How did you spend your time? Some people said, "Oh, my children are always in their bedroom. I would go and sit in their bedroom.
Mm,
I would go and sit there." And I'd made, that was when I made a food table and I said, "You have to come down and cook."
mm,
Because we had to make a conscious effort for family life to continue, and we even did more because we were all stuck at home together. I think that because a lot of adults struggled, they passed on the stress to the children. My husband was always watching TV and watching the statistics. I said to him, please, it's enough. Because the more you fed on the negativity, 5,000 people died, 10,000 people are hospitalized, the more it weighed you down. So yeah, COVID has left in behind with it a lot of children who are anxious, a lot of children who are refusing to go to school, a lot of adults are still very much stressed. And what can we do? We can spend time with the children. We can look after our own mental health first and foremost. Let's make sure that we ourselves are in the right place and we've dealt with the issues that are bothering us, and let's seek help. Let's not wait for it until it blows out of proportion. Even up till, like, I don't know, age reception. We talked about a reception child today, will refuse to go into school. And that was interesting. If she goes with her dad, she will just go into school. But if she goes with her mom, she will cling to the mom, which tells me that she probably spent a lot of time with her mom. Or she was yeah, she was just a toddler when COVID happened. So what we are looking at in that situation is probably there's an attachment difficulty. The child has not attached correctly to the mother, and so therefore they're holding on to the mother and don't want to go into school. So yes, with COVID, yes, there's so much to sort out, and be and to help the children through. I would say once again, it's being aware of where your children are and how they're feeling. And you can't be aware if you're not spending time with them or you're not talking to them. And if you're not observing them, if you know your child, you will know that this child has become really quiet. You will know that, this child is going out more than usual, or this child is not going out as they used to. So I don't know. Some situations are worse than others, and I would say if you're struggling, seek help. If you're struggling, seek help. don't struggle in silence. If you feel your children are still struggling with the aftermath of COVID, talk to the school, talk to, there's help available, all sorts of helplines and therapies, and of course, the power of prayer. There's nothing the Holy Spirit cannot reveal or cannot help us through. So yeah, I'd say yes, that's where we are with COVID. Interestingly, it's us in the developed nations majorly that are struggling with that. And that's because we've missed the community part of things, and the fear has created a response in the children and in the adults as well. Mm. Yeah, mute sis, I can't hear you.
I went looking for part of that essay that I said I
Okay.
read,
Mm.
and I copied that. It says, while involving parents in school activities has an important and economic function, it is only the engagement of parents in learning in the home that is most likely to result in a positive difference to learning outcomes. So
Well said.
they, I
Well said.
mean,
And
they said they.
it does not matter the age of the child. It is
Mm,
the engagement of the parent. Even as mine are in university, we're talking about what they're doing. I'll look at my daughter's books and all these equations. Oh my God, what do they mean? And she would laugh.
mhm.
Yeah. And she'll laugh and she'll tell me some of it, but I probably won't remember the next minute. But I have engaged her in a conversation about
Yes,
what she's doing. So yeah, we are where we are, but we won't
yes.
rest our
We
oars.
we 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 can't, sis. We can't stop doing what we know is best and what we're hearing is best for our children. And again, um, I just want to say this again. We're not bashing anybody, and we're not, but we're saying we can do more.
Hmm.
We can do more. We can continue to do more for the benefit of our children.
Hmm.
Again, says I'm all about giving our children advantages in life. And I think this is one of those advantages in life that we can give our children. Start them off on a higher level, higher tier
Hmm.
than at the bottom of the pile.
True. True.
We all know that, sis. When we're at the bottom, we've got
It's
a longer way to
to
go.
yeah.
Um,
Whereas if you start higher up,
exactly. Um, I always look at it. I think I'm not very knowledgeable in this area, but I think it's my husband that told me that apparently, if you enroll or enlist in the army or any military service or service, if you come in with an education, and I think maybe it's the same with police, but I'm not sure.
hmm.
When you come in with a degree or qualification, you don't start at the bottom.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Don't
Yeah,
start at the bottom. Whereas people that left the school at 15, 16,
they will
they
have to work
literally.
their way to the top. Hmm.
So
True.
again, um, I don't know what else says we can say in closing to encourage parents, grandparents. I don't know. Did you ever mention grandparents getting involved in education? Is that a thing for you?
It is. It is.
Okay.
If you have grandparents around, absolutely, absolutely. They are patient. They have the time,
Mm,
and they grandparents are good at engaging with young children because they're
mm,
they're not in a hurry.
that's true. They're not
They, they
going
they're
anywhere.
not impatient. They've seen it all.
Mm,
So while the mother is saying, "Oh, hurry up," grandmother is saying, "Okay, take your time. What's the next one?" That's the unhurried pace
Mm,
helps the child to calm down. I think the fact that we're always in such a hurry places pressure on the children,
mm, mm,
and it can't they can because they're still much. Remember, their brain is still growing,
mm,
and sometimes we forget that, and we think they should work in our own pace,
mm,
and we get impatient. Oh, don't you understand? You hurry. But you are talking to someone with an immature brain who is still developing their executive function skills, who is still learning, you will tell them things they will forget. They will learn it in school, they will forget because repetition is what helps us remember. So grandparents are good in that wise. They are patient to help the child, and they talk to them. You will find that some children fall out with their parents, especially in the teenage years, and they're friends with their grandparents. They
wow,
have no issues with the grandparents.
wow, wow. There's a lesson to be learnt there.
Mm.
In fact, to be honest, just in confirmation, as you were speaking, I just remember a grandmother died of recent. Um, and I remember when the family had her when she was alive, and the children, they were just beginning to have children. She was, I mean, she was a retired head mistress anyway. So she was at home with the children. She took them to nursery, she took them to play. She was the one doing all the, literally, because the couple just came over, settling down, getting job and everything. So she was always here, taking them to school, bringing them back with them and all that kind of thing. I tell you, the foundation
Mm.
the foundation she gave those children has always stood them and is still standing them in good stead till today, because they were able to read quickly. They were, I mean, obviously she brought her educational skills
Mm.
along with her,
Mm.
which is advantageous in their own family.
Yeah.
But just having that early input consistently and a little bit at a time, those children have always excelled based on the foundation. So, grandparents, yeah, the patience, the time, and it's sad she was buried a few days ago.
Oh.
So, and that is interesting, isn't it? Every time I remember her,
Mm.
that's what I remember about her.
Mm.
That's why I remember the impact,
Legacy.
that the legacies that she left in the life of her grandchildren.
Mm.
And those are the only two grandchildren I know, but I know she has many back home. So if she was able to make this impact in this life of these ones, then what impact did she make in the life of those ones
Yeah,
as well? So I don't think they can write their educational history without putting their grandma inside.
Mm. Mm. And I know some schools have grandparents' day.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah,
Mm.
it's actually in January. There's an international recognized universal grandparents day. They deserve to be recognized. They really do.
Wow.
Sis, I'm so grateful for your time. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I've told everybody the next time we're having you as Pastor Folakemi. We're not having you as educator, Sister Folakemi. No, we are having you as Pastor Folakemi. So thank you, sis.
Yeah, welcome.
Obviously, it's a journey. We're not going to get there in one day, but
Yes.
hopefully, all that you've given us, all that you've impacted us with, we'll be able to utilize it in the lives of the generation coming behind us.
Amen.
And I pray that you will also be able to leave a legacy. I'm talking about somebody's legacy now. I pray that your legacy as well will stand the test of time in the mighty
Amen.
name of
Amen.
Jesus, that your generations, your offsprings coming behind will read, will hear, and would see things that you have also done in
Amen.
your time, because you've definitely made an impact
Amen.
on this platform, and you've impacted a lot that many of us will probably not have had access to, or not even gone looking for, sis, or even thought about. You have done it for us.
Amen.
So
Amen.
we are so grateful.
You're
Thank you,
welcome,
sis. Thank you.
Thank God.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes, and we look forward to seeing you very soon by the grace of God.
Okay, ma.
So enjoy the rest of your night, sis.
God bless.
You too, ma.
Bye.
Take care. Bye. everybody. That is Sister Folakemi. And like I said, we are so grateful to have her knowledge and her intake and the impact that she has managed to make on this forum. Like I said, you can always find her on Instagram, you can always find her on Facebook, and she does have a YouTube channel. So, if you're holding a prominent or a decision making position in your local assembly and you wanted to come, I think teenagers and parents are really, I think, her main focal area. But I'm sure you can reach out as a ministry or individual out to Sister Folakemi. So everybody, I'm grateful. And at this junction, as always, there's only one thing left for me to do, and that is to hand you over to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Thank you very much for being with us. We look forward to seeing you very soon if the Lord permits. So until then, have a wonderful day, morning or night, wherever you are, everybody. Take care. God bless you all, and see you soon.
And no weapon fashioned against me, they shall never prosper. I am blessed of the Lord, his hand is mighty upon me. And no weapon fashioned against me, they shall never prosper. Praying child, godly children, we are never defeated, always winning. We're living in fear of God. Praying child, godly children, we are never defeated, always winning. We're living in fear of God. Like the holy plan, round about your table, children are the heritage of God. I am seeking first the kingdom of God, cause I am a praying child. I gotta pray just to make I am a praying child. I am a praying child. Whether I am black or white, I am a praying child. Yes, I have to pray. I am a praying child. Yes, I have to pray. I am a praying child.